Everyone. I think we should start with the process. Yeah. Okay. So, hello everyone. A very good afternoon to everyone present. I Youth is a very youth is a term often associated with vigor, energy, and change. Today, we have gathered here to discuss the role our youth can play in bringing in positive change, a change towards sustainable living, a better and a brighter future. I'm Samriddhi Sharma, your host, and over to you, Shweta.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Kindly make yourselves comfortable in your sofas and chairs as we are now going to begin the session. Namaste, Adab, and Sastriyakal. A very warm good afternoon to all of you present here. This is your co-host, Shweta, welcoming you all to the National Virtual Conference on School, Sustainability and Education, a roadmap to SDG 2030. Try not to be a person of success, but rather to be a person of value. Albert Einstein has rightly said this. India is a developing nation, and for every developing nation, the SDG represents all the dimensions of development. Our National Conference on School, Sustainability and SDG is an attempt to decipher the impact of school education on increasing sustainability indicators. We are here to witness how Indian classrooms turn ideas into actions, students into pioneers, and dreams into roadmaps for achieving sustainable development goals. Trust me, you will enjoy the session. Now we will kickstart the session with our first speaker. Firstly, I would like to invite Dona. And Dona Martin is a Millennium Fellow, a project with a volunteer and above all, a passionate youth who believes in social impact. She is pursuing BA Honours from St. Stephen College, Delhi University. She aspires to spread peace and new insights through language, culture, and heritage. The stage is all yours, Dona.
Today, one of the most important issue, but the least talked issue is menstrual health and management. Good afternoon. Distinguished panelists, my fellow youth change makers, and all the SDG enthusiasts present here. Being a project Vedana volunteer myself, I'm glad to express my views, my visions about the topic menstrual health and SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. So, when I look into this topic, I see two aspects. The first aspect is how the issue of period poverty is connected to SDGs. And the second aspect is how, as a youth, as a SDG warrior, we can address the issue of period poverty. Coming to the first aspect, how is the issue of period poverty connected to the SDGs? So, when we look onto the global goals, the 17 global goals, we can see that a long list of SDGs gets connected to the issue of period poverty, including SDG 1, no poverty, SDG 4, quality education, SDG 5, gender equality, SDG 6, clean water and sanitization, etc. So, this itself shows the intensity of the challenge of menstruation and its related problems. So, now when we look on to some of the statistics, we can see that about 500 million women and girls around the world are impacted by period poverty. Coming to India, in India, about 355 million girls and women can't afford period products. So this reminds us of the SDG number one, that is no poverty. And both, like people from both developing and developed countries, face social and cultural stigmas, gender discrimination, and other challenges around periods. This throws light on SDG 4, which is quality education, and SDG 5, gender equality. So this also calls for the need of menstrual literacy and menstrual awareness program. Now coming to my second aspect, that is how as a youth, as a SDG warrior, we can address this issue. Firstly, our understanding about menstruation should evolve, empowering girls, women, trans men, and other gender folk by normalizing menstruation should be done. Thanks to the NGOs like sarkarischool.in, which look onto the topics, which look onto the issues such as spirit poverty. And as we all know, we all are in the world of virtuality and networking. In this, there are various social media challenges like gift a pad challenge, gift a pad gift a hygiene challenge, etc., which aims to reshape, to reframe the future of menstruation. So today, let's pledge that we would be period positive. Before I conclude, I would like to thank sarkarischool.in for giving me this opportunity and all the viewers out there. Thank you so much.
Well, that was a very, very good speech, Dona. And I do agree with a lot of your points, and it was a stimulating speech. It was a great start to this long discussion. And let's move on to our next speaker. Great job, Dona. Let's move on to our next speaker. Yes, Anoushka.
Hi
So,
everyone, good afternoon. Am I audible?
yes, you are. So I have a
Yeah,
brief introduction. I'll introduce you. Okay. So
yeah.
yes, Anoushka is currently pursuing her a master's degree from Mount Carmel, Bangalore, and she's also a volunteer for Project Vedna and has a triple major degree in political science, economics, and sociology. It's lovely to have you, Anushka. Let's go ahead.
Thank you. Good afternoon to everyone, my distinguished panelists, and also my other fellow enthusiasts. My name is Anushka Mitra. Nice to meet you all. I am from Jamshedpur, and as Samriddhi mentioned already, I am pursuing my master's degree in public policy from Mount Carmel, Bangalore. So I come from the city which is called Tata Nagar due to its obvious reasons for being founded by Jamshedji Tata, a place that has high employment opportunities, a great standard of living, and it was even ranked as the cleanest city in India in 2020. Knowing the Jamshedpur from Google versus knowing the Jamshedpur the way I saw it are two very different Jamshedpurs, obviously. I grew up seeing a Jamshedpur where 20 minutes from my place there is this huge basti, a slum area, and every time we used to cross this place, we used to shut our car windows because of the staggering smell that used to, due to the overflowing drains, due to the garbage dump in the slum area. And from this slum itself, was my housemaid, and she used to come to my house with her 12 years old daughter then, who used to go to this Hindi medium school that was right next to mine. And I remember this one time when her daughter Lata came to me with this very chirpy mood, and she was that I don't have to go to school the next day. I thought she was probably missing her school due to, because for some reason, and it was something like she was just skipping school. And then she tells me that I won't be going to school because my mom told me that I am a woman now. I am no longer a girl. I am a woman. And she was obviously indicating that she got her periods, which is why her mom told that this is a time that you should get into household chores. You shouldn't be going to school because you're a woman. So this is where the Project Vedna hit me. This is where the entire nostalgia came from when I joined this initiative, this NGO. So Project Vedna, as Don already mentioned, aims to provide support to government schools, especially to create awareness campaigns to reduce school absenteeism, dropouts in girls due to menstruation in rural areas or even urban for that matter. But this is still a very micro objective that our project is looking at. When we look at the bigger picture, it is always the standalone but significant objective that one fulfills. That is the SDGs, that is quality education for all, including all genders. So one of the core vision of Project Vedna is normalizing menstruation as well as to minimize the stereotyping that periods involve. While 71% of adolescent girls are still unaware of menstruation before they get their first period, 71% of the women are also unaware of how, there are about the sanitary napkins at the first place. They are unaware of the availability of sanitary napkins, due to which they resort to leaves, they resort to cloth materials for the matter, due to which it obviously leads to the lack of hygiene. So as we move towards SDG 2030 goals, it is very crucial for us as policymakers that we understand that the need of quality education at the first place, at the very root, while we strive towards menstrual hygiene. So, as we move towards this goal, we understand how the general lack of equality in education pertains at so many levels, even in the case of menstruation. I remember back in my high school days when we had our first period talk, which, by the way, happened after many of us already got our first period. Boys were not allowed to even peep in that hall where this entire talk was going on. So, this is the first thinker that we can talk about as we are moving towards this goal of education, that how it is very important that even men know about periods from the primary level as we get to know about it. It is very important because that is where, the entire sex ed, that is our first talk of sex ed comes in. Secondly, when we talk about education, obviously the teachers also have a very holistic and a significant role at the primary basis when a girl gets her first period. So, this is the time when we as enthusiasts should focus on actually working on quality teachers' education and training. The main objective of the training here would be to sensitize the various issues that are related to menstrual hygiene practices as well as management. So, this training will help the teachers to achieve the necessary skills and the tools to understand menstruation well enough to support the children, to support the kids, especially the girls. Obviously, working on a sensitive issue like menstruation, the development of soft skill is as important. It is important that we talk about this issue today. We also realize that how menstrual hygiene education should reach the parents as well. And this is something that I experienced literally 10 minutes from this call when my I was informing my parents that I have with this conference, and my dad asks me that what is the topic on, what are you speaking on, and this is the reluctant feeling that I had. Should I tell him it's about menstruation? Should I tell him it's about periods? Because this is something that even as I went to an urban area, I went to a place where education is everywhere. It is important how less we talk about menstruation at the first place to our parents at our own homes. So, as we grow closer to the vision of SDGs, quality education should serve as an umbrella for home education as well for menstruation. And this is something so innate in our morals that we don't often realize that how some of us are victims to this as well. So, thank you. That would be all from my end.
Your speech was truly adorable, Anushka. We could really relate when you said that 70% of girls are still not aware about menstruation, and you brought out some really good points. Thank you for your words. Next, we have with us Harnoor. She is a policy research intern under Project Gudia of our organization, and she is pursuing her bachelor's from Keshav Mahavidyalaya. We would really love to know her thoughts. The stage is all yours, Harnoor.
All right. Thank you for that introduction. Very good afternoon to the panelists and esteemed viewers. My name is Harnoor Kaur, and today I've been presented with the opportunity to express my ideas regarding the policy measures to achieve sustainable development goals. So, before me, the two esteemed panelists who talked about the issue of stigma and biases associated with taboo concepts like periods or menstruation health and moreover the whole concept of educating a girl is a very important aspect of which blocks our achievement of sustainable development, because education is an important factor in leading to information about the
factors associated with sustainability. So if you're not aware why sustainable development uh, is a good investment, why you should be minimizing your resource consumption, then there is no point in policy making or implementation in the first place. So the dilemma of this lack of enrollment of girls in schools and educating them about educating every child actually about the importance of sustainable development and the resource consumption for future generation is I think a problem, a two-pronged problem in our country especially. So in developing countries like India, you will see a pattern or a trend of people where they're overwhelmed with being born in a nation which is the second most populated in the world, and thus their resources are already limited as compared to other countries or nations. And on the other hand, there are stigmas and biases of the society associated with different aspects which limit access to facilities like education, job, etc. And because of the financial instability of the masses, you can say sustainable development is still a far a goal out of our reach. So I would suggest that in terms of the policy making aspect, there is a lack of sensitivity about problems that could arise in the functioning of the policy in terms of how easily people devise loopholes in the legislation. So, if I give you a classic example, it would be the ban of plastics, which happened recently. But you could still see people continuing their use of plastics and, you know, um, throwing caution out of their window and not following the laws. So, this unreadiness of the masses, it was based on the fact that alternatives to plastics like jute or khadi, etc., they were comparatively expensive, so they were their appeal as alternative solutions reduced. And in effect, I think a proper thought should be given in order to suggesting how policies could influence the masses, and the policy measures which are adopted in order to reach the goal of sustainable development, they should be improved such that such that they can be easily embraced by the common people. And moreover, in India, we can see that the implementation of policies on the ground level is very lackluster. I think the law-abiding institutions and the police force, etc., they should improve their strictness in terms of how they deal with people who disapprove of policies or do not follow policies of environmental protection and sustainability, and they should act as role models for environmental friendliness so they can all lead us to a better tomorrow in accordance with these shortcomings of the lack of clarity and conciseness in policies and lack of implementation of policies. What I would suggest for the youth is increase in education, because obviously it impacts a lot on the understanding and implementation of policies. A more educated child or a more educated um, youth would create a better future for tomorrow. So the youth could work towards designing policies that are effective at ground level, and they should ensure that the policies not only look good on paper, but they are also implemented effectively in the real world context. So studying policy making could very well contribute to an improvement in the content of the policies. And secondly, the youth could spread awareness about the issue of sustainable development and environmental protection through social media platforms, and create a base for gathering information, spreading sharing new developments, and generating seriousness in the minds of the people about this issue. And since the implementation of sustainable development policies completely depends on how people readily accept them or follow them, a good way of ensuring that policies are followed is to spread information about their significance and what potential future risks of not following these policies could be. So, the best way to ensure that these steps are taken by the society is to improve our education status, improve employment opportunities, and create a financial stability such that people can easily access resources to practice sustainable development. So that's all from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Harnoor. Love the points you raised and loved your confidence as well. And I do agree that implementation, lack of clarity, and cost and investments are all major hurdles in the path of application of all the decisions taken by our parliament or by UN or all the other organizations and institutions. Sure. Loved it, and I hope we have a great evening, guys. So we'll move on to the next speaker. Shraddha? Yes, we'll go with Kritika. Kritika, hello. So I'll go with a small introduction. So Kritika
Yeah.
is pursuing her BA LLB from UPES Dehradun. She's an avid reader with a passion for writing and also holds deep interest in criminal laws. Over to you, Kritika.
Thank you so much for invite. First of all, I'm really grateful for Sarkari School for providing me this opportunity to speak about sustainable development and goals. Being a law student, as already has been told earlier, I have an interest in criminal law. So I would be talking. I just want to talk about, like, as Anoushka has pointed out about the menstruation, and Harnoor has talked about the policy implementation is not being effective. I just want to talk about the crime that we face in the still in the era of 21st century, that as like which are crimes basically against children. Do you know that like more than out of 2 out of 3 children in India are actually physically abused? Violence against children is actually widespread and is a harsh reality for millions of children, especially from the social economic groups in India. And it's not just like only boys are prone to it or girls are prone to it. Boys and girls are equally abused. They face actually child marriage, domestic abuse, sexual violence, violence at home, in school, trafficking, online violence, child labor, bullying, and whatnot. One of the datas from Ministry of Women and Child Development stated that more than 24 lakhs instances of online child sexual abuse have been reported in the from the period of 2017 to 2020. These stratas are very shocking, but more than that, what is shocking is the policy implementation. There are so many policies, there are so many laws that have been implemented in India, but actually but on the ground value, as been already said earlier, that they are just on paper. There is no reality on when it comes to implementing these policies, when it comes to the application of these laws. This is very poor in India. India has already been said that when it comes to sustainable goals and education, uh, what we should we need to understand is it does not start, we cannot expect anyone else to start from it. When it comes to education, the first learning of a child starts from his home. But imagine a child who has been physically abused by his parents. Uh, what would be the mental condition? What would be the mental situation of that child would be? You cannot expect anyone else when you're being abused on your own. The mental health, the physical abuse, the sexual abuse, there are so many things. Um, One of the crimes against being children is child labor. Do you know, like, it was very shocking for me when I read about it, but was that even in Supreme Court, when the Constitution of India clearly says that children, Article 23 clearly says that 24 says that children below 14 years of age should not be indulged into hazardous activities and everything. But do you know, even in Supreme Court, the arguments presented by the councils, they were saying, ki, what about the families who are dependent on them? They don't even care. It's the parents who are saying that, which was like they don't even care what their child goes through. They don't. They for their for such kind of people, the child is not a life. It's I always say this, that such kind of people think that the child is not a life, it's an asset for them. There are so many, the point is, when it comes to policy implementations and working through it, there are so many challenges that we face. But and there are so many policies that we suggest, we can do this, we can do this, but when it comes to ground level, that what actually is happening, the practicality is very nil. Like, out of, imagine for an example, if a person was involved in sex trafficking, he has been arrested, but the conviction rate is very low. Like, there would be proceedings, there would be so many legal technicalities in this, uska usko pura dekhenge ki uska kahan fault nahi hai. There would be defenses, and it takes long, it takes hours, it does not just take hours, it takes years for a person to get convicted. And by the time he is being convicted, कोई दूसरा crime कहीं और हो चुका होता है. The strata say the strata says that 2 out of 3 children are being physically abused in India, which was and also more than actually 50% children, they say that more than 50% children in India work 7 days a week. One of the there are the Ministry of Women and Child Development has a vision, and which says that all children in India should stay safe and feel secure in all settings and in all circumstances. It's what their vision is, and for that they have introduced many policies. Their preamble itself says that every child deserves a happy childhood and the opportunity to lead a dignified life from safe violence and everything. And for that, there are so many policies that government has implemented itself. Like, for in education, there are anganwadis. Government schools are there where children are getting free education. But are they really getting the quality of education when it comes to private schools and government schools? There are so many government schools. Like, in the place where I live in Tong, Rajasthan, and one of the government schools is just adjacent to my house, and I know that it does not even have a washroom, not even a clean washroom. There are the sweepers that come, they are coming like 2 or 3 days a week. The school is as good as as good as a garbage area. People throw uh, people throw all their waste in that school. So can you imagine a healthy and safe environment for a child? It is not there. The education, there are so the point is, when we are talking about it, we are educated, we are talking about it, but when it comes to ground reality, I always point out that there are no ground realities. So as a change maker, as a youth change maker speaker, like I have been saying, it is our responsibility that we should start the change from our own home. Okay? So it's not like we cannot expect anyone else to take a step up and work for it. No, the change starts from ourselves. We can start from within. There can be what we can, as a legal reforms, there are certain legal reforms that I can suggest, as being from a legal background. I can suggest that efforts can be made from the governments to strengthen the economic conditions of the families of the country, as poverty is seen as major causes of child abuse in India. Especially, like Anushka has pointed out that about the menstrual education. So I would suggest that the sexual education actually should be made mandatory in schools and curriculums, and it also should include programs in primary sections, primary classes of the institutions as well. And these laws against the child abuse are not being properly implemented. They are highly prevalent in the world. So for abolishing these need to be properly executed. Also student clubs that should be developed by the government, because it's the youth we are talking about. It's youth that is the future of the world. So students club should be developed by the government, and to spread special special awareness against child abuse and the policies for the government. And there are so many reforms that can be done. The every children should be educated. All children should be educated about the child protection schemes and the childline services that government has at a very young age, so that they could get benefit from these policies and be informed about these rights. And people need to realize that child abuse is existent and it can happen anywhere around you. It is required for us citizens to become more vigilant to their rights and not be ignorant about the abuse happening around them, which actually happens a lot. uh, if someone is if someone is abusing a family, कि हाँ ऐसा चलता है, so you don't really care. You will say कि it's their private matter, it's their own, it's not our business. But no, uh, crime is not against, it affects your mental health, it affects the society at a very large, and you need to understand that very early. And if we are talking about sustainability and education, it's not just the children or the youth should be educated, it's their families. From it should start from the fam it should start from the, sorry, wait a sec. Yeah, actually, when it comes to it should the people, when it comes to change making, it should start from the person itself. And also you should understand, one should understand that education and sustainability, it's not just one's goal, it's a goal for everyone around you. And education, parents who think that their child is an asset, and हमारा बेटा हमारा बेटा है, बड़ा होके हमारे घर का कमाई करेगा, हमें पैसे ला के देगा, हम उसको आज पाल रहे ताकि वो, they need to understand it's a life, and it is not an asset. It is we as a person, at an individual level, what I can start is from if like what I do usually. There are a few of my relatives and few of my neighbors. I belong from a very small city, and people around me are actually they're actually pretty backward. If you say social, they're not economically backward as we can say, but they're socially backward. They're उनकी सोचना अभी 90s और 80s में ही है, even before than that. So they believe कि है ना, अभी बच्चा the child is okay, it's 21 years, let's get him married. They don't really care about if he's getting education, or if he's if he has the, they really don't care about the dreams of their own child, which is pretty saddening. I'm fortunate to have a family or relatives who actually support me, but not everyone is as fortunate. So we need to make them understand that it does not work that way. You have to understand that it's a life, and you should let that person be. And sustainability तभी आएगी, एजुकेशन तभी आएगी जब सभी एजुकेट होंगे, नॉट जस्ट यूथ, नॉट जस्ट चाइल्ड, नॉट जस्ट अ पर्सन. इट्स education for the society as a whole, and only then I believe that we can achieve this. Thank you so much.
You brought out truly commendable points, Kritika. And I have a quote regarding this. There is no reason and there is no excuse. Child labor is his child abuse. So, yeah, truly insightful. Next, we have Vaani. You are Teach for India fellow teaching around 40 students of grade 2 in under-resourced community in Jahangirpur, Delhi. Over to you, Vaani. The stage is all yours.
Thank you, Shweta. Hello, everyone. I'm Vani, the teacher with the pink and blue tattoo. Binaries that I will never vouch for. Because the cookie cutter culture could never gulp this Powerpuff in. From WWF to fashion TV, from Othello to 50 Shades of Grey, I have loved it all. Oh, this pink and blue that I talked of is a real problem, trust me. I went to buy a bathtub for my dog the other day, and these were the only two options available. Like, I can't even imagine the plight of poor babies whose choices fall anywhere else on the rainbow spectrum. Speaking of rainbows, that's my classroom theme too. Oh, by the way, I'm a Teach for India fellow, teaching 40 grade 2 students from an under-resourced community in Jahangirpuri, Delhi. Rainbow because I want the students to embrace joys and sorrows alike. Don't cry like a girl. Boys will fight, boys will be boys. We should put an end to that, I feel. It's high time. SDG 4 aims to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. And that, I believe, would be attained by creating a safe space where boys can like pink without being laughed at, where girls can claim that they wish to be engineers without being mocked, and so on. Everyone would be able to freely express themselves, their choices, and take pride in it, because in a rainbow, every color counts. As a child, I had harbored this little, very selfish dream that, being the Bollywood fanatic that I am, that someday someone would like turn around and say, "Hey, you changed my life. You made a difference to my life. I did not give up because of you, because you did something." And as I grew older, this little dream became much larger. And as I entered the education field, I thought that I finally found my footing. My name itself, Vani, it translates to voice. Something that I really lacked as a child. I had opinions about everything and anything, but really did not have any confidence to say it out loud. But currently, I'm working day in and day out to give voice to the voiceless. And I think I've done a fairly good job. At least I would like to believe that. Because just a few days back, two of my students came up to me, and at that time I was really disturbed. I had silenced myself. I was sitting in a corner because of something that was going on in the school premises, and these two students came up to me. They nudged me. I had lost any will to take a stand for something that I really believed in. But quite literally, I had lost the strength to take a stand. But they nudged me, they gave me the voice back. So I think I am doing something worthwhile. And through my project, which is called Hug Your Heart, I hope to inspire students to leverage theatrical tools to wholly understand and express themselves, their emotions, their thoughts. And this in turn would pave the path for an increased sense of understanding of self, which would in turn lead to outward compassion. The kind of excellent education I envision can continue to produce ripples for generations to come, because the idea is to create a self-reliant network. Like, say tomorrow I'm not no longer in the system, or I'm no longer serving this community, at least at the ground level, then they should be self-sustained enough to like hold on to that network of support. And I for this I try to create parents and student leaders within the community itself. For instance, there's this magazine in London called Hermes Magazine. One of my students work, her story titled 20 years from now got published in that. And it talks of the kind of woman she would want to be 20 years from now when she becomes a doctor, and right now she's just 5 years old. Then I've also been part of cultural exchange programs between Teach for India and Teach for Bulgaria and Nepal, which allowed for cultural exchange between the two countries, between the two communities, and which in turn like shaped the students and their families into global citizens. So, Shah Rukh Khan, if you watched that movie Swades, he said that he does not and he did not believe that India is the greatest country in this world, right? It's not the best, but certainly he did believe that it has the power and the potential to be the best, and I strongly resonate with that thought. Um, because a teacher, I believe, is the creator of all professions and ultimately the future of any country. I'm not expecting like each and every one of you to leave whatever you're doing right now and just solely devote your time and energy to cause of education. Nope, I'm not hoping for that, but I'm hoping that you try to be just a tad bit more compassionate in your actions, just a little bit more empathetic in your words. Just do your bit. So my ask, be it you're a social entrepreneur, you're a doctor, you're a content creator, whatever you're doing, just do your bit and do it best, and teach and actually learn from at least one kid. Because these little things, these little moments, these little efforts, I really feel they will prove to be the biggest leap towards SDG 2030. um Lastly, I really don't know if I'm worthy enough of giving this talk today, but that little girl who had that tiny little selfish dream of changing the world most certainly deserves this. So thank you for listening to her.
Truly said that teaching is a profession that teaches other professions. है ना, समृद्धि?
And you rightly pointed the importance of empathy, right? That was such a great point. And I would like to, say that I heartily agree with all the points you stated, and I hope you're having a great time as a TFI fellow, and you'll bring in the changes you've aspired to bring in. And I would like to say a hello to your students. Please, give them my greetings. And apart from that, I personally enjoyed your speech, and I think everyone agrees with me. Moving on to our next speaker, Harshit. Hello. Yeah, we'll do a quick introduction. Hi. So Harshit is a student. He's pursuing his BBA LLB from Guru Gobind Singh from University of Indraprastha University, and he has interest in international law and arbitration. Over to you, Harshit.
Thank you, Samriddhi, for introducing me. So today I'd speak about SDG 5, which focuses on reducing poverty and inequality. So it is achieving a goal. Um, the role of youth in a sustainable development goals is essential for their successful attainment. Youth, uh, youth are the future, and with energy and enthusiasm, they can help to make a world better place. So, as we can see that in after the pandemic, the poverty in India has been increasing day by day, and the products are more expensive than before the pandemic, and because the main reason for this is unemployment in our country, and the as we can see today the world has the largest youth population ever with 1.8 billion youth, men and women across the planet. 1.8 billion youth is a demographic fact that cannot be ignored. So, in our government also making some policies for reducing the population in our country, and implementation of new education policies so that every student will get employment. Uh, there are many reasons why the youth should be focused on SDGs, but one of the most important that is the future, that they are the future of our world. They are the people who will uh, building the economy of our future. So, so ensuring that these goals are to achieve is essential if we want to leave a better world for future generation. As we talk about equality in our country, we can see that our latest current president of India is Draupadi Murmu, which comes from a tribal community and state in Jharkhand. With youth can be should be given a central role in implementation, and SDGs are the ambitious and required the cooperation and dedication for everyone. I want to tell you some points of SDGs for that we can support in achieving the goals of SDGs. So we can eliminate all the forms of violation against women and girls in the public and private spheres, including trafficking and sexual and other type of exploitation. We can also recognize the value and unpaid care of domestic work through the provision of public services, infrastructure, and social protection of policies, and the promotion of shared responsibility with household and the family is nationally um, appropriate. So we can enhance the use of enabling technology in our country, uh, in particular information and communication technology. After the pandemic, as we can see that the more use of online communication is the main aspect. We can see in our surrounding that in colleges we are studying in from uh, through the mode of online education, and the technology is growing in our country, and some in some colleges the exam would be conducted through online mode. uh, like gender equality cuts all over the goals of SDGs. We need to reaffirm the every single goal has youth aspects to it. Without young youth and young men, gender equality cannot be achieved, and overall the SDGs cannot be succeeded. Uh, so finally, I am glad to share about United Nations Youth Strategy, which has been designed to work with the youth companion in gender equality, such as ourselves. Our youth and gender equality strategy highlights the leap and framework of goal, strengthening the women leadership and promoting economic empowerment and skill development of young women. Additionally, it makes, in case of promoting uh, partnership with young women and their organization, as well as partnering the young women and men. Uh, Last and but not least, invites the partnership in achieving gender equality and women empowerment. As I have said before, that youth must be center of achieving the 2030 agenda of sustainable development for transforming the new world. With support of commitment and passion, we all will succeed in achieving the goal of Agenda 2030 Sustainable Development Goals. Thank you. Thank you so much.
We were really glad to hear you, Harshit. That was truly insightful. Now we know your competence and are profound of your end seat, and thus the choice of you. Now we would like to invite Abhinav Jha on the stage. Abhinav Jha is pursuing BE Political Science from St. Xavier's College, Autonomous from Mumbai. His core interests are reading, catching up with what's happening around in the world, and taking a keen interest in the matters of public policy and foreign policy. Abhinav, we would really like to hear you.
Hi everyone. Good afternoon. It's been such a wonderful time listening to everyone making pertinent points about how the youth can play a role in achieving SDGs, and I'm here to do the same. The main focus of my presentation is, the Sustainable Developmental Goal 4, which is, ensuring quality education. I firmly believe that if the youth if the youth can focus on this particular goal, like there are 17 SDGs, right? And we have to be realistic when it comes to, ensuring that these goals are met. So if the youth could just focus on the fourth sustainable developmental goal, that is ensuring quality education, what you are going to realize is that the other sustainable developmental goals are also connected with this, and in many ways is reliant on this goal, reaching a proper stage and a proper form. So for instance, I'll just give you an example of how the youth can play a big role in ensuring quality education. So I still remember that I was in the eighth standard and I wasn't very good at mathematics. And I remember our maths teacher was trying to explain the problem to me for at least 20, 25 minutes, and I was still not, understanding the maths equation that was there. And I had my best friend who was sitting beside me. He was good at maths, right? And he was my age. And he was able to explain the sum to me in just like 5 to 6 minutes. Okay. And uh, this was because, you know, it is interesting. This is because, the youth, they understand each other very well. And in the sense that the way a youth will approach education, it's like, for instance, we see there are so many young people today, on YouTube channels, and even in small neighborhoods, they have started their own tuition classes and educational classes where they are providing quality education. And this provision of education is unconventional, and it's not necessarily the ones that we have been used to in the form of rote learning and textbook learning, because we have to imagine education in a completely different light. Education is just not about memorizing certain texts, or you know performing certain calculations, or performing certain, or attaining certain literacy skills. Education is there, like, beyond the textual knowledge that we have come across. There are other, education should also ensure that you are growing holistically as a person, and that kind of education can be provided by the youth. And once this kind of education, this quality education is provided by the youth, you will see the other sustainable developmental goals will also, slowly start getting attained in the long run. So, for instance, gender equality, right? So, if the children who are growing up, if they get proper sensitization through education, they are naturally bound to be more logical and rational when it comes to gender equality, and ensuring that they are not discriminating against any particular gender. Okay. Another sustainable developmental goal, such as good health and well-being, right? So not just physical well-being, but also mental health-being. In the 21st century, we cannot just restrict well-being to physical well-being. We have to include mental health well-being as well. The awareness regarding all of this will also come through proper quality education. And it is difficult sometimes when someone who's from like an older generation, there is sometimes a communication gap due to which certain understandings of the world does not get interpreted in the right way. And that is where the youth plays a very fundamental role in providing quality education. And once that quality education starts getting provided, we will see other goals also taking proper shape. For instance, the 10th Sustainable Developmental Goal, that is reducing inequality. Again, if the quality education provided by the youth has, proper sensitization regarding communities that have certain disabilities, we will be more, the youth, the kids who are growing up, they will be more sensitive towards people who have special needs. So this is how the youth can play a big role in achieving sustainable development goals. And it doesn't have to be something very big. It can be something on a very, very small scale. Like, so in that sense, if we approach achieving SDGs from that perspective, it will be easier to do so in the long run. Because as soon as we start complicating our processes, what happens is that we get muddled up, and the proper effort and hard work that is needed is not being able to put in. Because as soon as you make a problem very complicated, you are going to have a difficult time solving it. So I'm not saying that it is an easy task at hand achieving sustainable developmental goals, but it needs a simple approach, and this is how the youth can play a big role in achieving those goals. So yeah, thank you.
Your thoughts were truly well articulated, Abhinav. Your presence truly inspires us. Truly commendable speech. Next, we have with us Farhana. Just a quick intro about Farhana.
Hello everyone, I am Farhana Hakriya from Bangladesh. First, I want to thank Sarkari School from the bottom of my heart for giving me this amazing floor and opportunity. My research article topic was Healthy Children Developed India. Now I am going to give a short speech on it. We all know that the world's highest youth population is in India. Children are essential to the present and future of the country. Also, today's children are tomorrow's future. So, India needs to invest in child health to guarantee that its future is protected by physically and psychologically healthy citizens who do not burden the country but rather work as a catalyst for change. Health and education are the two most significant measures of a child's development. India has understood this from the very beginning. For this reason, India launched the world's first national family planning program in 1952. Child and newborn health from a relatively small part of the program. The process by which a child develops over time might be characterized as child development. India has taken also many initiatives to confirm children's health, such as Janani Shishu Suraksha Karikaram, India Newborn Action Plan, Village Health and Nutrition Days, Rashtriya Bal Swasthya Karikaram, Mission Indradhanush, and so on. Since independence, India has experienced a fantastic adventure in developing child health care policies and programs. Over time, the vision and focus of these programs have shifted as knowledge of children's health has grown. Today, we can see that India's children are achieving so many things and doing many good works. If this goes on, India will be developed country very soon. That's all about my speech. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Farhana. That was some very important factual information presented by you, and it was great having you. So yeah, we'll we'll go to our next speaker, Asta. Hello. I'll start with a quick introduction. So Asta identifies herself as a feminist, a humanitarian, and loves to work for social upliftment. That was a short and sweet introduction. Here we go, Asta.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I am so thankful to be here and to be able to share my views with all of you, and I'm so grateful for this prestigious platform. Today, I will be speaking about gender equality, a cause which I relate myself to the most, which I feel a personal cause to me. So, the achievement of gender equality is fifth out of 17 Sustainable Development Goals established by United Nations in 2015. The fifth goal states achieving gender equality and empowering all women and girls. The Sustainable Development Goals were targeted for 2030. But let me tell you, the reality says otherwise. With under less than 8 years left to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, let me tell you, we are not any closer. Like amid all the COVID crisis and then the recent political instability, the economic insecurity, climate changes. Amid all these, we have really forgotten about gender equality. It has not only made a slow progress, but I sometimes feel that it's going reverse. Every day I wake up, I read several newses which clearly indicates that there is a war going against one section of the society, one gender of the society, like the recent hijab row ban, where people are like killing women for not properly dressing up. And in India as well, we have seen that education is denied to girls because of their dress code, because of all many things. The US government denying the rights of abortion, the Taliban banning education for girl child. So all these things indicate that we are clearly going backward in time and not moving forward. And I don't feel that by this way we can achieve gender equality till 2030. In fact, according to UN Women Organization, at current rate of progress, it will take another 286 years to form legal frameworks to promote, enforce, and monitor gender equality in public life. Can you imagine? Next 286 years, and we just have 8 years left with us. The gender equality in every section of society is facing is differs a lot. Like the gender equality one section of society is facing differs a lot from the gender equality, the type of gender equality the other section of society faces. While one section of society faces the issue of equal pay, equal income, but the other section of society faces the issue that they just need a chance to get educated, or they just need a chance to live. Like they are getting killed. So I feel that all these things differ. One section of society just wants to dress however they want. So I feel that all these things might look very different, or some might look very complex or very difficult, and others might seem easy. That why do you want equal pay rise? That's not even a problem. But all these things come under gender equality. All these things are inequality against women. And according to me, educating gender equality does not include like education, because education is not a luxury. That education is not a luxury that girls children get. Education is a necessity. Education should be something that we should get without even asking, without even thinking that it's a privilege to get educated, because education is a necessity which should be provided to us as we are born. And talking about India, India ranks 135 out of 146 in gender gap index. Can you imagine 135? So this denotes that performance of India has just slightly increased from previous years, but it denotes slow growth in terms of closing the gender gap. So it is evident from the report that progress walk through gender just world is rather slow, despite the obvious need for it. Gender equality is not only important for moral and human reasons, but also for economic and development reasons. The main issue lies that we do not really understand the relation between development and gender equality. Like we feel that along with if we'll go through one gender, we can achieve development, but that's not right. A nation needs to value every gender equally to progress at right place. A society attains better development in all aspects when both genders are entitled to similar opportunities, equal rights in decision making, health, politics, infrastructure, profession, etc., will surely advance society to a new level. Any development that does not include gender justice is not fruitful, as it sidelines and marginalizes a large section of a gender. Gender justice can be seen as a key component of economic development as well, including women and gender minorities. The social stigma of women staying inside house has now changed, and it's high time we need to change as well. We as a youth play important role in changing the mindset of the people. The older generation still feels that there is a lot of difference between the capabilities, what a woman can achieve and what a man can achieve. But we as a youth, we are educated, we know our rights, we know values, we know things, and we know that despite the biological differences, despite so many biological differences, we are capable of getting achieving the same things. In fact, being a part of LSR, a prestigious college for women, I feel proud to be surrounded by such strong women, where I can learn every day from them, and where I can know that they have struggled a lot and they are still fighting for women right, and I along with them. We all feel that we should continue this fight for gender equality, and then if the speed rises and if we are able to achieve it at a very good pace, then I think that gender equality will be a reality someday. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Astha. Your words truly echo our opinions. Only the best people in any field will take out the time and make the sacrifice to attend a conference like this. Next, we have with us Kamna Pandey. She is pursuing philosophy honors from Gargi College, Delhi University, a really enthusiastic and passionate individual. We would like to hear your thoughts, Kamna.
Thank you. Very good afternoon to everyone there. First of all, I would like to thank the Sarkari School for providing me a platform to put my points and thoughts on sustainable development goals along with such intellectual individuals. It's so good to hear all of them and their opinions in regarding achieving the SDGs. So I'm Kamna Pandey, which I'm currently pursuing philosophy honors from Gargi College, Delhi University. I would like to talk not on any specific SDG goal. I would like to talk in general the role of youth, what we could as a youth do to promote or achieve the SDGs. I'd start with a para of agenda from 2030 agenda paragraph 53, where it's written that the future of humanity and of our planet lies in our hands. It lies also in the hands of today's younger generations, who will pass the torch to future generations. Youth is the most energetic and productive section of a society. Whether or not youth are enrolled in a school, receiving training, or working, they have important implications for future economic growth, development, and stability. Youth help build the resilience of communities and spur progress. Its contribution to the 2030 agenda is essential to accelerate the momentum toward the empowerment and achievement of sustainable development goals. The empowerment of youth for ensuring sustainable consumption and production is a critical task, as they, as the agents of change, can help in mobilizing the resources to advance the sustainable development goals, to improve the lives of people and the health of the planet. The young people of today will mature in the coming years, right with SDGs. We are the people who will experience the success or failure of the 2030 agenda. This is why it's particularly very important to engage with youth and empower them in our endeavor for more sustainable future. As young leaders of tomorrow, it's pivotal that youth are informed and engaged with the global vision for the future. Young people have the power to make their voices heard and to raise awareness of the socio-economic and environmental programs that plague the planet. Through activism on social media and youth organization, they can better than anyone incite action, stimulate change to build a better world. Young people have the skills to design innovative, sustainable, and lasting solutions that can have an impact on their future. Youth have the capacity to identify and challenge existing power structures and barriers to change, and to expose contradictions and biases. Young people also have the power to act and mobilize others. Youth activism is on the rise in the world over, bolstered by broader connectivity and access to social media, and it is not unaware to any one of us. As a part of the today's youth, we do not need to do everything on a very large scale. We could start by contributing it in a small scale also. Like if we take the example of the colleges, we all share a very different kind of intellectual bonds. If I talk about the colleges for women, like the previous speaker had said that she belonged from LSR, I belong from Gargi, where we share our knowledge and thoughts with each and every individual, and we work on gender inequality. We work on preventing hunger. We work on uh, facing environmental issues through different media. It's not like we are doing everything on a very big scale. A very large group of people are having impacts from that. But we are, as a youth, as an individual, are contributing our part to achieve and promote sustainable development goals. I would like to conclude my statement with one of the statement of our ex-Secretary General of United Nations, Ban Ki-moon. As the young leaders of tomorrow, you have the passion, energy, and commitment to make a difference. What I would like to really urge you to do is to have a global vision. Go beyond your country, go beyond your national boundaries, and we will surely achieve all the sustainable development goals. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kamya. Love the quote. You quoted Ban Ki-moon, and it was a lovely quote. And the trust you've shown in our youth, it's truly inspiring. I hope we stand up to expectations and we do work towards sustainable development goals and towards a better future. Thank you so much. So we'll be moving on to our next speaker, Khushi. Hello. So I'll start with a brief introduction. So Khushi is a graduate of Advocacy from Bangalore, and she is a youth activist
You are not audible, Samriddhi.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Okay. Okay. So I'll be starting with an introduction. Yeah. Yeah, Kushi, an introduction. So Kushi is a commerce major pursuing her BCom from Kamla College, Delhi University, and she's a business enthusiast and also loves engaging in diplomatic dialogues. So hello, Kushi. Please, the stage is yours. Go ahead.
Thank you for the lovely introduction, Samriddhi. Good afternoon, everyone. Today I'll be shedding some light on the topic of building bridges for education and gender equality. So, in many contexts, there are persistent gender disparities in schooling, most often at the cost of girls. Despite a sharp rise that we have seen in female enrollment since the 1990s, there is still a sizable achievement difference between upper primary and secondary education. Additionally, there are significant interstate differences in gender parity. Although the states with the greatest educational disadvantages, like Bihar and Rajasthan, have seen the largest increases in female enrollment, these states still have a long way to go to come up to a position with the better performing states of Kerala, Tamil Nadu, and Himachal Pradesh. Now, if we talk about the COVID-19 pandemic, so the severe effects of the COVID-19 pandemic, which have exposed, aggravated, and produced new types of intersecting inequities and injustices related to gender and education, have increased the necessity for gender equality in education. It is crucial to have open and honest discussions about gender and other intersecting disparities in education as we continue to create and expand our response, recovery, and sustainability initiatives to rebuild better. So, why address gender prejudice as early as feasible in the classroom, you may ask? So, as we all know, children begin to make assumptions that reinforce gender stereotypes at a young age. According to a study involving more than 2,000 kids aged 4 to 16, the signals that society sends to children influence how they think about themselves and other people. And frequently, these messages contain gender preconceptions that stay with the children for the rest of their lives. I have compiled few strategies, as a teacher, as I myself, teach online, I myself online teach some students. So I have compiled four strategies for encouraging gender equality among all of your kids. So, firstly, what you can do is set an example for your students, and particularly younger generation, the younger students frequently learn through imitating others. As a teacher, be conscious of your own gender stereotypes and make an effort to change them as you become aware of them. Encourage your kids to feel that they have the ability to realize their dreams regardless of their gender identification in the appropriate context, and that their gender is never a weakness. For example, pay attention to how many female pupils you call on. Be highly proactive in ensuring that every student is fairly included in conversations and participation, regardless of gender, ethnicity, language, or the level of learning. Secondly, what you can do is avoid relating a skill or personality trait to a person's gender. Sometimes the words we use can support gender stereotypes. Be mindful of the language you use in class and refrain from making generalizations about anyone's personality, career, or abilities based solely on their gender. So, for example, what you can do is try including a male nurse or a female construction worker in a class assignment, such as a story problem, as you can say, to dispel students' preconceptions and advance gender parity. And also, what you can do is gender equality should be taught in your curriculum. Gender issues are prevalent in several textbooks, as you've also read, and I have also read. Growing up. In my high school, I've seen numerous cases where they frequently underrepresent women role models and minimize the experiences of women and negatively stereotype gender norms. If you have a choice in the textbook, you can use, or look for one that is renowned for treating gender equally. If not, try to add to your curriculum by telling your students about men and women who questioned the gender expectations of their culture and made significant contributions to their communities. Lastly, educate students about their own biases. Making your kids aware of gender discrimination is one of the best methods to combat it in the classroom. Teach your pupils about implicit bias or the notion that sexist messages we have heard can lead us to believe certain things about ourselves or other people. The key is for pupils to be aware of their own presumptions. Once they have, they can push them to actively alter their perceptions so that they acknowledge that a person's abilities are not correlated with their gender. At the end, by concluding, I'll be breaking down gender inequalities. Female doctors and surgeons make 38% less money than their male counterparts, while female lawyers make 30% less money than their male counterparts. An important approach for reducing this salary disparity is education. To lessen the effect of gender bias on students' prospects for learning and accomplishment, teachers must continue to monitor this issue. We must all make an effort to become more conscious of our gender biases. In addition to making a commitment to addressing gender bias in educational materials, we need strategies to help us reflect on and alter any prejudiced behaviors. Thank you so much. I would really take a second to, appreciate Sarkari School for giving me this lovely opportunity to speak on and shed a light on this topic. Thank you so much.
Truly adore your presence, Kushi. Achieving gender equality requires the engagement of women, men, boys, and girls. It is responsibility of everyone, of course. Okay, so yeah, your confidence also inspires us. Next, we have with us Prachi Karan, and she has done MBA from SIBM Pune. Currently working as a research associate with Parliamentary Research and Training Institute of Democracies, Lok Sabha Secretariat. The stage is all yours, Prachi.
Thank you. Thank you, Shweta, for this introduction. And I'm really grateful for Sarkari School for giving me this opportunity and platform to share my views. My name is Prachi Kaur, and today I will be speaking about carbon footprints, how schools can help us to reduce this problem. My life from childhood till adulthood is the biggest inspiration behind writing this paper. I have seen my parents and grandparents always carrying a cotton bag while going out for shopping. Also, during any feast or public gathering, they used cup and plates, bowls made up of dried leaves of sal trees. But when I started my educational and professional career, I have seen that such things got disappeared or replaced by plastic containers. Somehow we got disconnected from our roots and we started to worry less about our environment. So I decided that I'll be putting in efforts in this direction so that a small effort we will put in today will lead us to a bigger result in the future. When it comes to schools can help us in a very different manner. Like they teach environmental studies to students, we need to understand that it is not just a subject, it's about implementation. We need to prepare students so that they will think about their steps and action, that any small action they are doing in their daily life activity, what kind of harm and at what extent it will be doing to the environment, they will be more careful towards it. Other than that, when it comes to school canteen, they use cutlery items, cup, plates, so they should be careful that while using such items, that should be put into multiple use, it should not be put into single use items. And so, being a change maker today, we need to start today. We need to start small. So let's pledge that today, that whenever we will go out, we will carry a cotton bag with us, and we will be mindful towards our purchase and activities so that it will help our environment. And we also need to understand that government cannot alone solve this big problem. We also need to put in efforts. We need to be mindful towards our activities, and then only being a nation, we will be able to become carbon negative, or we will be able to reduce carbon footprints. That's all from my side. Thank you.
True, true. Mindful activities and mindfulness in the activities we carry on daily are very important. And some very good points were raised by you, Prachi. It was great having you here, and yeah, we'll,
Thank you. Thank you so much.
you're welcome. So we'll move on to our next speaker, Abhivyakti. Hello, I'll start with a brief introduction. So here we go. Abhivyakti is a third year student at Daulat Ram College, majoring in economics. Data research, policy, and economics are her core areas of interest. So the stage is yours, Abhivyakti.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Samriddhi, for such a warm introduction. It was lovely hearing all my fellow panelists, and the passion which they spoke about their topics was just awe inspiring. I'm Abhivyakti, and as it has already been said, data, economics, research, and policy excite me a lot. So I entered this research article writing competition conducted by Sarkari School itself under the topic Midday Meal Schemes, a game changer or a fiasco, and I emerged as one of the winning entries. Today, I would like to share some insights that I gathered while writing that article. Goal 2 of Sustainable Development Goals is to end hunger and achieve food security along with improving nutrition. Midday meal schemes were introduced in India to fulfill this very goal and also increasing the attendance ratio in schools, which comes under the SDG Goal 4, that is education. A persistent issue and ongoing problem or a challenge, if we might say, to India's administration is child malnutrition. India was among the nations which had the worst child health indicators when it were under the survey which was conducted in 1992. According to the survey, more than half of young children who were under the age of 6 were either underweight or stunted, and every sixth child had an abnormally low body mass index. All these problems may be linked to children's chronic malnutrition, which is very common in India. Considering all these issues, a school lunch program called the Midday Meal Scheme was created to improve the nutritional status of school going children in the country. For kids in primary or in upper primary schools, free lunches were provided on all working days. It is biggest of its type in the world, and it serves almost 12 crore kids every day to over 12 lakh and 65,000 schools and education guarantee scheme facilities. The severity of malnutrition is not at all a hidden problem in the country. Karnataka became the 13th state to provide eggs in the midday meal scheme program. 92% of the enrolled children in Mizoram, which happens to be the second highest literate state in the country, received midday meal schemes. A majority of schools in rural areas have their own kitchen gardens, where the state encourages schools to grow their own vegetables and fruits. According to studies, child malnutrition costs India its GDP a 4% of its GDP and up to 8% of its productivity. The world has had epidemics, some more severe than the other, but all of them share one thing in common. They all cause fatalities and contribute to global health and nutritional crisis. In addition to affecting schooling, the COVID-19 crisis also had a negative impact on the midday meal scheme program. Schools were closed as a result. According to UNICEF, around 370 million children worldwide may not be able to secure a nutritious meal every day. The crippling effect of poverty results in devastating nutritional result in children, and undernourished children grow up to be weak and not so productive adults. Because after all, as we all have heard, maybe since our childhood, and everyone says this to us, that health is wealth. But for many, the former is completely compromised because of the lack of the latter. And now coming to answering the question that the topic originally asked me, is midday meal scheme a game changer or a fiasco? Because its implementation has clearly shot up attendance in school, children who weren't able to find a proper nutrition before now at least have a source to secure a proper nutritious meal of one time. The idea of sitting together and also helps breaking down the age-old caste and religious barriers. However, one cannot say that the scheme is completely helpful, as saddening news of families protesting about the food made by a Dalit cook or giving eggs in the meal makes the situation tense. However, they are just small barriers that can be easily crossed if we gather proper community support. But looking at some of the major implementational flaws, one cannot confidently say that this scheme was a game changer. So, according to me, the success of the midday meal scheme program cannot be termed in binaries. Lastly, I would like to say that schemes like these require a lot of public support and rigorous collection of data sets to analyze the success of its implementation. We, as the younger generation, can easily contribute to the former part, that is, gathering community support. If we together try to remove the social stigmas around us, like not eating food made by a person who doesn't belong to a higher caste, can easily help more children to come and secure that one meal that they rightfully deserve. I know it's a very long road and a difficult one too, but it's an urgent and a worthwhile one to take. That was all from my side. Thank you so much for listening to me.
Shweta, your mic.
And yes, we now come to the last speaker of the session, Christy. Christy is a 15-year-old student from Delhi, India, and she is highly interested in international affairs, economics, and solving global challenges. She loves debating and doing MUNs and public speaking. She hopes to give it her all to impact the youth and truly make a significant change in the world. Over to you, Christy.
Right. Thank you so much for the introduction. So, hello everyone. My name is Christy, and before starting, I would like to thank the whole Sarkari Schools team and Abhishek sir for inviting me here on this fateful day to provide a speech on youth empowerment in this SDGs conference. Now, I'm not here to just like give a speech, but I'm trying to make an impact. Like, I'm trying to make everyone aware of what the world needs today, what we all need today, which is immediate action and youth activism. We live in a world where acute poverty and destitution coexist with extreme wealth, where 1 in 8 among us live in extreme poverty, 2 in 5 are without access to adequate sanitation, where rates of maternal and child mortality are unacceptably high, and millions of children are out of school, where many women and girls are still deprived from equal opportunities, and where the capacity of oceans to provide their vital services and the survival of the planet's biodiversity are at great risk. We are also seeing heightened tensions and humanitarian crises, violent, interlinked, and multiplying conflicts, unprecedented scales of movements, people forced to flee their homes. How can we watch so many lives getting destroyed, our living conditions getting more worse and worse day by day with the challenges increasing? And as the challenges are fully inclusive, so the solutions must be as well. The 2030 Agenda recognizes this change by moving beyond a strategy to just develop poor countries to a universal plan applicable to all. Sustainable development cannot be achieved unilaterally or by just one country. And probably the most significant change brought in by this agenda is the affirmation that if a significant economic or social group is left behind, our development is not sustainable. That is why the 2030 Agenda includes a commitment to leave no one behind. That is why we need to work together to find solutions that are sustainable, durable, and that recognize our interdependence with each other and with all life on Earth. And while I was waiting for the conference and for my turn, I did listen to a few speeches and I was pretty inspired and noting down all the ideas that they had shared because I truly respect all the speakers and their ideas were truly amazing. And according to the United Nations, the youth comprises 16% of the world's population, though it's safe to say that the youth is important when it comes to shaping and developing the society we live in, because they have the capability to determine the future not only of a community and a nation, but also the future of the world. But still, I believe that one of the biggest challenges in youth empowerment is lack of exposure, involvement in community programs, and the absence of role models and mentors. The youth today, or the Gen Z in which I am a part of, I must say, after observation, has not been exposed in a proper way to the real world. And I have observed seeing them trying to enjoy their lives and being unaware of what grave challenges will be coming up in the future. And just how the previous speaker said about malnutrition and hunger crisis, just yesterday, India slipped to the 107th position in Global Hunger Index 2022 out of 121 countries, and is behind its neighbors Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Nepal. So, yet approximately 40% of the food produced in India is wasted every year due to inefficient supply chain systems. So I'm not here to like tell the facts or the news because that's already there and everybody can access it. But I'm trying to make aware everybody that it's never too late. Once you recognize the power you have within you, you start believing your voice matters and trying to make the world and the country a better place to live. You don't need to be smart, you don't need like skills and all that, but once you start raising your voice and start standing for what's right and what's not, and once you start getting to know what kind of conditions people are facing out there, then we realize that we have been ignoring our reality in our youths for too long. Youth is the future, and to make sure our futures are secured, I mean, we need to start taking action right now. I do hope that my speech created an impact on youth and other generations of the world present here to stand up and take action today. Thank you.
That was a lovely, lovely speech. It was very stimulating, Christy. I am personally very proud of you. Wow, that was great.
Thank
And
you.
I hope I, as an individual, I will be applying some of your suggestions in daily life. You see, to each their. Thank you, Mitra. Please go ahead.
Your mic is on mute,
Yeah.
Nirja.
Good afternoon, everyone. It was a delight to listen to all the speakers. They really had some commendable thoughts. And I agree with Donna on her thoughts about period poverty and socio-cultural stigmas lying at the core of it, with Anoushka, how she told us about the confrontation she had to a school dropout incident around her, which was owing to arrival of adolescents in a girl and which led Anushka to join our project Vedna. Harnoor, who took us through various factors that can help in achieving sustainable development. And it was so nice to see all of you voicing concerns and issues around menstruation and gender inequality, majorly and dominantly. And Kritika reminded us of the seriousness of violence and physical abuse against children that are happening around us. And they are so serious, and we need to address them right away. Vaani compelled us with her takes on gender inequality and her aspirations for equity and sustainability in education. And Abhinav told us how quality education should be at the foundation for ensuring fulfillment of SDGs. Astha on achieving gender equality being an urgent need of the hour. Kamna on importance of youth and importance of their actions, their efforts, and voice in current times. Prachi with their suggestions on reducing carbon footprint, and Abhivyakti, how she told us that poor child health indicators can have effects on achievement of sustainable development, and Christy, obviously, who highlighted so many like diverse issues around sustainable development and involvement of youngsters in the process of it. So, on behalf of all the volunteers from Sarkari School and Economics Club Fergusson College, I'm glad to be here to express my vote of thanks to all our youth speakers who took out time to share their precious and ideal perspectives on this matter. You all are remarkable examples of what our youngsters should be like, and I wish you all the best for future. I also extend heartfelt thanks to our organizing team members, hosts, anchors, and volunteers for their contribution. At last, much thanks to our wonderful audience for joining us in this session. We are having some amazing sessions lined up for you ahead of this, so you all may leave and start joining those equally informative and enlightening sessions. Thank you all. Thank you, everyone. Hope you have a great evening. Bye bye.